It is Monday, March 18th, and I'm here for another update. Welcome back. Thanks for everyone for returning. If you've watched my videos before, thank you to anyone new who may be checking me out. I really appreciate it. If you can tell, I am battling a cold. My oldest daughter, when she came home sick last weekend, she decided to share her germs because she just hasn't realized that that's one thing we don't want to share. So I'm not completely down and out. I'm feeling pretty good, but I still have some congestion and stuff. But I had a lot of stuff I wanted to talk to today, so I wasn't going to put it off for another week. I'm on this weekly routine, and I want to keep that going. So I have a drink that is in theme with today's video because it's butterbeer, or what they're calling butterbeer. Our coffee shop on base, which serves Starbucks. They're not a Starbucks by name. Their drink of the week is butterbeer. So I had to try it out. I got the blended version, not the hot. I might try the hot later on. My husband got the hot. He said it was awful and that I should save myself the effort, you know, with all the sarcasm. So the blended version is a little strong on the butterscotch, but it'll do the trick for today. And we'll get through this video. I'll pause it if I go into a major coughing fit or sneeze or whatever. Okay, let's talk about stitching. I will say that at the end of the video, I will be talking about current events in the U.S. With regards to the flooding, and I might get a little chatting on that, so I'm going to put it at the end. So if you don't want to pay attention, if you don't want to listen to that, you can skip it. So, this week for magical stitches, the homework was with regards to care of magical creatures and recovering from a Dementor attack. So you had to stitch a piece, 300 stitches on a piece with a real creature with claws. And I decided that I was going to work on Big Red Ship of Life because there's a crab. And then instead of doing another 300 stitches on a piece with brown for chocolate, I decided to go ahead and do penalty stitches because I had to reach my personal goal for March for this. I also have to show you this project bag. My mom made this. She knits and crochets and sews. She used to cross stitch way back when, but doesn't cross stitch anymore. So I really like it. And this is what I keep Big Red Ship of Life in. And go State, because we beat U of M a third time in 3 weeks. So take that, Jessie Marie. Alright, so I finished the page. So there's the corner of the page. There's a little bit into it to finish this guy. And then here, that's the beginning of the sail on the ship. And hold on a second, let me turn off my sound. I forgot to. It's not gonna let me. And then I started to work on the border for page 2. So that's 1/1 on 28 count mushroom even weave by MCG Textiles in DMC 3808. And I see you're messaging me. I'll have to get back with you later. The next thing I worked on, okay, so I did over 900 stitches on that. And then I went into an extra credit task for the month, which was 500 stitches in 310 for Sirius Black. And so I went to Trick or Treat because that's the piece I'm stitching Extreme Cross Country, doing all the black first. And you knew last time I finished this black cat and I had some of the fence posts, and so I kept going this way on this page. So pay attention to the pumpkin face, if it'll focus. Focus. There's 2 pumpkins there and that stone fence post. It's not going to focus. So because I'm 10 stitching, I have to do 1,000 stitches. And there you go. Now, can you see there's going to be one pumpkin here and another pumpkin here? So there's a pumpkin face. There's another pumpkin face. And there's some of the black mortar in between the stone on the stone fence post. And I finished the fence here. So this actually, I was able to finish this whole page black. So I'm now 2 pages in on the second row. So that's Trick or Treat by Randall Spangler. That's on 25 count, easy count. And then after that, that was Thursday? No, that was Friday. And so I had 2 days left of the weekend. I didn't know what to work on. And I was thinking about it. Friday night, I decided to go ahead and watch Prisoner of Azkaban and stitch on Moon Hare for that extra credit task. So there's again a picture of Moon Hare. You know, I already finished this page and I was working on this page. I played with the fact of trying to get it done this month for the 90-day challenge in Full Coverage Fanatics, but I didn't think I was going to be able to get it done because of all the grading I had been doing. But this past week, this page was filling out nicely, except for the confetti, and I got 400 stitches done watching the movie, which is pretty decent, even though I'd look up during some of the better scenes and watch. So then I did some math. Okay, I keep a running total each month of the number of stitches I do. You know, I told you in a previous video how many I did in January, how many I did in February. And I finished this page on March 5th. And I knew how many stitches I had done total in March. But the key thing is that to finish this page, I had used those stitches for 2 extra credit tasks in Magical Stitches, for the Dementor and for the redo. So that was 1,400 stitches that exactly finished the page. So I could do some subtraction for as many stitches as I did in March, subtract the 1,400 to finish this page, and I knew that's how many stitches I had put in on this middle page right here. And of course, I could find out the stitch count of these 2 remaining partial pages by looking at, width and height. So I did the math. And I subtracted what was left, found out what was left, divided by the number of days I had, and I got 253 stitches per day would see me to a finish. And I figured this out on Friday night. So I said, okay, I hadn't touched this page yet. And I knew there was a bunch of, not really blocks of color, but big areas of color where you could easily fill in. So I said, okay, I'll work on it exclusively for Saturday and Sunday. See how much I can eat away at those stitches remaining to lower that average of stitches, minimum stitches per day that I'd have to do. So that's what I did. Plus I knew I was getting sick. I had already started getting a sore throat. So not knowing how bad this cold would be or how much stitching time I'd have, I decided to work on this exclusively for Saturday and Sunday. Well, Saturday, I put in over 1,000 stitches. Sunday, I put in 773, I think. And I've already worked on it today, and I put in, I think, 200, no. I forgot. It was over 200 that I put in today. So my stitching at my minimum stitches each day to finish the piece by the end of March went from 253 stitches to the end of Saturday. It was down to 203 stitches. End of Sunday, it was down to 162 stitches. And after my stitching on it today, it's down to 153 stitches per day. Will see me to a finish. Now keep in mind, so the only way I was able to do that was to start working on this page and work on as many big blocks of color as I could. Because I figured if I get all the easy stuff done first, and I only have the confetti, my required stitches per day will be lower, but I'll have more time to get that confetti done without feeling as much pressure. So I have just under 2,000 stitches left. Let me show you. It's easier for me to show you on my tablet instead of editing where I was last week. Last week, I was about here. Okay, you can see I had like 4 big colors done on that middle page, and I had not started here. Let me show you where I'm at now. Look at that. Do you smell that? It smells like a finish is coming up. I have some rabbit leg, some flowers, 2 flowers. There's actually a pink flower right here. Some little bubbles, like there's, bubbles in other spots. And then I'll be done. Less than 2,000 stitches. Let's see if it'll focus. There we go. 2,000 stitches and I'll be done. So, the numbers have only given me, we'll call it determination instead of stubbornness. I will finish this in March. We'll see. All right, focus on me now. We'll see how much I have to work on this exclusively versus how many other whips I can work on at the same time and get this done. But like I said, if I do a minimum of 153 stitches per day, I can get this done. So that's 13 days left. 13 stitching days left since I've already worked on it today. Okay. Take a sip. This week's homework in School of Magical Stitches are classes. We have 5 classes to pick from. You only have to do 3. You can do penalty stitches for those 3 to double the number. It's 200 stitches for each class or 400 penalty stitches. Or if you want to be an overachiever, you can do 200 stitches for all 5 classes and get 10 extra points for your house. Well, Ravenclaw needs to try to beat Slytherin. So of course I want to try to earn as many points as possible. But at the same time, I'm sick. My mental focus isn't as what it normally is. I did that's why yesterday I only did 773 stitches instead of 1,000 because I couldn't focus on it. I read more yesterday than I actually stitched. And I took a nap. So instead of looking through all my whips and trying to figure out what I can make fit the classes, which are arithmancy, divination, cure magical creatures, the study of ancient runes, and let's see, arithmancy, cure magical creatures, divination, study of ancient runes. I forgot what the last one is. I know you're telling me what it is. It's another difficult one. I can't think of it right now. But back in video 1, when I did my whip parade, I glossed over a piece that I had UFO'd. Well, I'm bringing it back out. It's the class schedule sale by Armada Designs. I originally UFO'd it because I was modifying each and every block because I wasn't happy with the design as it was charted. And some of the blocks I was happy with, some of the blocks I really wasn't, and I just needed a break. I had completed 7 months of it, so there's only 5 blocks remaining. Now everything that I show you, I've changed. Okay, so you'd have to look up and see what the original charted design is. This is fabric that I dyed myself. It's 28 count Monaco. So you can see there's the whole thing. I've got 7 blocks done. So you have Transfiguration with Professor McGonagall, and I put Vera Verto, and the cup with the rat tail. You have potions. I put one of the quotes from Professor Snape with several potions. For herbology, I looked at someone else's design and I kind of changed it a little bit to make my own greenhouse. Changed the colors that they had used and Made it fit. For History and Magic, I made that look like a chalkboard. Put Professor Binns on there with one of his quotes. Charms is the one I'm really not happy with. It might just be changing the colors might help that one, because I chose these beautiful jewel tones, but you can't really read them. So I listed 5 charms there: Expelliarmus, Lumos, and Nox, Wingardium Leviosa, Obliviate, and Alohomora. And then Study of Ancient Runes is as charted, but I chose my own colors. And Astronomy, I believe, is as charted, just because by that point I was getting sick of trying to rechart things. So, because my focus is to finish Moon Hare, I'm going to work on this, but I'm going to take the easy way. And I'm going to work on the frames. I'm not going to count it for the frames extra credit. I have a different piece for that. So, I'll do all 5 classes, 200 stitches each, so 1,000 stitches. So I'll finish the 5 missing frames and see where I'm at. If that gets me to 1,000, then I'll stop. If it doesn't, then I'll probably start stitching the names. Because you can see the beginning of each class, the first letter is full cross with backstitch around it, and then the rest of the word is backstitch. So that all counts. You just have to divide your backstitch, because backstitch is only counts as half. So that's what I'll work on for that. If I have time, and depending on how I'm doing on Moon Hare, I'll work on my extra credit for frames. So because Sirius Black was framed, you have to work on a piece with frames or border. So I have these Haunted Mansion stretched portraits. I've got 2 of the frames done. So I'll see if 2 more frames should easily give me the 500 that I need. Same fabric, same color Rit dye as the class schedule. So 2 more frames should easily, it'll get the boring part over, and it makes a good balance to confetti. And if I need a break, I can put in a few lengths of boring frame and confetti. So, since I'll be working on both whips each day, I get a little bit of boring and a little bit of confetti to spice things up. So that's for this week. We'll see what else happens. Shout out to Jemima at The Rocking Stitcher. She lives in the Netherlands. She gave me a shout out on her most recent video, and so I really want to thank her for that, and go check her out if you like some full coverage. She has a few different Randall Spangler pieces. She has supersize Waterhole Master, which is looking awesome too. They're completely different to see in person on video than they are to see them on Instagram or on Facebook. And they're just more amazing to see them, closer up. So, okay. Give me another drink. Now, some of you may have caught in previous videos how I said I came from the Omaha area. Julie at Reflections Framing and Stitching did have some flooding in the back of her shop in the framing area. Luckily, it did not damage anything but the flooring that they had to pull up, but she had to move a lot of mat board to pull up that floor, but it didn't get into the main shop. And that's because the way her shop is kind of inset into a hill, so they had flooding there, even though they're nowhere near where the rivers are around Omaha. So, last week, what the weather people are calling a bomb cyclone hit all the way from the Rocky Mountains to the Central Plains. It affected anywhere from the southern portion of North Dakota all the way into Louisiana. So people I know everywhere got hit with these. Debbie, my friend in Colorado, she said Denver airport had wind gusts up to 80 miles an hour and had to cancel all their flights. not only because of the wind, but because of all the snow they were getting. I saw a picture in South Dakota on an interstate with snow drifts where you could just barely see the top of the 7-foot tall street sign. So 7 feet of snow had drifted up over the freeway. I'm expecting a few things from Amazon that got delayed because the main east-west interstate in the southern part of North Dakota actually closed down because there was so much snow. Now that's all snow. But you go further south into the central U.S. and it was rain. A ton of rain, which then also melted all the snow they had received before that. So, before we moved here in November, I lived in southern Omaha. And if you don't know Omaha geography, it is just above the confluence, which means the merging of two rivers. So here's what it looks like normally. Okay, you see this river over here, that's the Platte. And then this river right here, that's the Missouri River. So right here's Iowa. The Missouri River is the border between Nebraska and Iowa. And right here's Omaha. Here's an after picture. Okay, you can see the extent. All that rain, well, it broke levees, it broke dams. And it all just came merging into Nebraska and surrounding areas. Let me show you some close-ups of Omaha. Okay, here's Omaha. Offutt Air Force Base. This is in the southern part of Omaha. Here's the Platte River coming in. There's the Missouri. Down here is a little town called Plattsmouth. And I lived outside Plattsmouth, so south of the base. So Omaha has, or the Air Force Base has the Missouri River flowing on one side of it. Check it out. They're completely devastated. It's the worst flooding they've seen, and I haven't seen an official number, but I've heard anywhere from 30 to 40 to 50 years. Worst flooding they've seen. Okay, here's a picture. Let's see. Okay, so there's a main highway that goes down from Omaha, past the base, and over this Platte River to get to Plattsmouth, where I lived. This picture was taken from that bridge, looking at a railroad bridge. This was taken Friday, I believe. So there's railroad bridge. It's the water level's right up to it. And here is the concrete barrier on the highway bridge that this person is driving, my friend. This person was driving. Okay. Sunday morning at 1 o'clock, the river was over the highway bridge. Completely over it. There was no way for people from Plattsmouth to get to Omaha. Offutt sent people home Friday before the bridge closed. Let's see other pictures. All these pictures are on Facebook. I'm not divulging any secret or top secret information. I did have a secret clearance when I was active duty. My husband has a top secret clearance, but nothing I'm going to tell you in this video is anything. You could all find it for yourself on Facebook or just Googling. So don't worry about that. Let's see. Where's the picture I was looking for? Okay, here is an aerial shot of the base. There's a runway. There's the main maintenance facility. Here's more airplane hangars. And you can see it's already over the runway. Now, unlike when Hurricane Michael hit Tyndall last year in Florida and absolutely devastated Tyndall, they didn't, you get a little bit of warning, but with a hurricane, you don't know exactly how hard it's going to hit, or if it's exactly going to hit you. It can always veer off. Flooding is slower, so they had the chance to get every airplane that can fly flew away, evacuated. The airplanes that couldn't fly, because you're never going to have all airplanes able to fly. Because they have what's called can jets, or cannibalization. Instead of having 5 jets broken for 1 part each, they will take all 5 parts from 1 airplane. And so you have 4 mission capable jets and 1 airplane broke for 5 parts, as an example. So you'll always have a can jet that won't be able to fly because it's waiting for these parts to come in. Or it's in the middle of being torn apart for periodic maintenance. So there's always airplanes that you can't get off the ground. Well, what Offutt did is they just moved those airplanes up the taxiway, up the runway to the other parts of the apron of the airfield to higher ground. So no airplanes were actually damaged. But let me get the other picture. Over 30 buildings have water up to 8 feet deep. Okay. Let's see. This building right here with the dark roof, I went in that building all the time. That was a family visitation center where I could take my girls to see my husband when he wasn't allowed off base. They're security forces. They're the base cops. That's their building. So, 8 feet deep. Those are airplane hangars. It's really bad. It's going to take years to get this base back up to normal. Offutt is a base that has a very unique mission. It is the home to U.S. STRATCOM, which is Strategic Command. That is across all military services, so it's not just Air Force. There's people that live on Offutt or live around and work on Offutt that are not just Air Force. There's Army, there's Marines, and Navy officers. So, a little bit of history. On 9/11, after the towers were hit and the Pentagon was hit, when President Bush left the schools that he was visiting in Florida, Air Force One went to Barksdale first. Not knowing which area was safe, they went to a base where it wasn't predictable that they would go there. They refueled because, yes, Air Force One can refuel in the air, but all airplanes were grounded to try to eliminate all threats. So they refueled, they got more food because they didn't know how long they'd be airborne, and they kicked off non-essential personnel, like press and congressmen that didn't have to be on the airplane. From Barksdale, that's in Bossier City, Louisiana, where we also lived. They went up to Offutt because Offutt is the home to U.S. STRATCOM. At the time, that was one of the only facilities where you could have a teleconference with multiple locations all calling in and view everything. So a command center, if you will, to use layman's terms. So imagine sitting at a table with 6 TV screens, huge projector screens, so you could talk to all your generals, your cabinet members, and figure out what was going on, what the best plan of action is. That's what actually happened before President Bush decided he was going back to Washington, D.C., no matter what happened. So, U.S. STRATCOM with the actual building is on a hill, but if you think of all the global deterrence and strike capability that U.S. STRATCOM is in charge of, you think bunkers, you think things way deep underground. More than just one floor underground. Well, and then you have all this flooding. So I don't know exactly the condition of that building, but you can bet that the mission does not stop just because the buildings are flooded. They will be doing displaced ops, which means, the airplanes that normally are at Offutt, they're doing their same mission somewhere else. So, my heart is out to all the folks in Nevada. There's my tired brain. Nebraska is they recover from this. There's also been a lot of farmers that have, not in just in Nebraska, but in the northern states where they got all that snow, people had to dig out their cattle. I saw pictures of horses in chest deep water, and it was too far a distance to actually get them to dry ground. And bad things happen when anyone is in water for a long period of time. Your skin just, it's not meant to be wet that long. There'll be infections, they'll be sloughing off the skin and stuff. So, yeah, my heart is with them. I think that's all I had to talk about today. I need to give my voice a break and finish my drink. I wish you all the best. Happy stitching. It is currently like 34 degrees outside. We can see all of our driveway, all of the road, and it's actually supposed to get up to 50 degrees at the end of this week. So we're really looking forward to it. I will talk to you guys later. Happy stitching, and bye.